departure, 7 a.m. We just left from around there, which I think was a drop-dead anchorage, like they all are. Going past some very, very beautiful scenery, and we're heading up to we're heading up to CathayOz, K-I-N-I-D-O-S. And that's an ancient city where we're going to have a look at some ruins and camp in a bay for the night, which is going to be opposite a bay where all the old triremes used to anchor. And it'd be really cool if they actually had something there like a trireme, because I'm really fascinated by those kind of boats. Anyway, what a beautiful morning. We're just motoring again, but then there's no wind. But the scenery is so bloody-tacular, it's amazing. And the water's flat. Sailing around this part of the world can get confusing. Right here, Greece and Turkey are really, really close together, and the borders are contested. It's very important for yachts that are cleared into one country to stay in the territorial waters of the country they're cleared into and not to stray across to the other side. And this is why it's unusual and confusing for me, because that's where we're going to, which is in Turkey. We're in Turkish waters. We've been sailing in Turkey, but only about 1.5 to 2 miles over there, that island's in Greece. And I'm supposed to be very careful because down here, if you can see it, look very clear, carefully, that dotted line there, that tells you that that's Greece and this is Turkey. Turkey, Greece. Turkey, Greece.
Where's the border?
What?
Where's the border line?
16,000 miles, 1 ocean, 11 seas, 12 countries and hundreds of experiences and adventures. We're Jackie and Wayne and we're sailing around the world. Hey, what are you up to?
It's very quiet and very nice, and rain a little while.
It is nice.
The weather is really nice now, and we are going to make a stop at the Roman port city of Knidos.
What a great protected anchorage. The water is so clear that I'm keen to get in and take a look at our bottom, which I haven't really been able to do since the Maldives.
Okay.
Getting quite a bit of growth.
It's so much fun to be able to stop, swim. Explore the Roman city ruins. Have a nice dinner. And enjoy a magnificent sunset, all on the same day.
There is nothing so much fun as just sailing in a fresh breeze on a fine day on flat water with new and exciting landscape going by.
These are good times for me to practice my steering.
We've been doing a lot of motoring since halfway up the Red Sea and through the Med, and our engines are showing some signs of getting tired. It looks like the main problem is the injectors. The engines have 7,000 hours each, and I don't know if the injectors have ever been serviced. So this is something we're going to have to look into.
It's not that there's no wind. In this part of the world, they have the Martini, which blows with a lot of force from the north. The problem is that right now we are heading north, so we are pushing the engines a lot.
It's turning out to be a bit difficult with the Meltemi. It's not just the engine performance. We're using a lot of very Euro expensive diesel.
We have to make some decisions. Is it better to fix the problems that we have or replace the engines? Replacing them is a huge expense, maybe as much as $50,000. If we just keep fixing the problems that we do have, we might end up sinking more and more money into them and maybe have to change them anyway. There are no easy solutions.
In the meantime, we're still pushing north. And that brings us to the city of Bodrum. It's a bit like Marmaris, as it's a major tourist hub. Sailing in the Mediterranean is turning out to be a bit of a culture shock to us. Sailing through Asia and the Middle East was mostly an authentic experience.
In the Med, though, we start to realize just how much tourism has changed destinations to fit with what the visitors want. So, if you are looking for the real Turkey, it can be a bit hard to find on this coast.
It's the same on the water and off the water. Anchorages are filled with cruisers like us and charter boats. So many charter boats. These are yachts and catamarans that are hired by vacationers, usually for a week, so they can sail and enjoy the coast here in Turkey and the other countries we're going to. Along with heavy tourism comes increased cost and decreased authenticity. It's become such big business that some things are just not affordable anymore. Spending a night in a marina in some parts of Turkey actually costs more than a 4-star hotel. So that's kind of out of the question.
Of course, that is how things are, and it's our job to adjust to this new environment. It is just so very different from where we have been so far.
Thunderstorms passing overhead all the time. I feel cheated because they weren't forecast. The Cape, which is the activity in the atmosphere, is low today, and yet here we are. And there's been for the last hour and a half thunderstorms passing over us. We're just taking shelter in the cabin now because there's another big one coming over us. It's said that fire is a mariner's greatest fear, but for me, it's thunderstorms. They happen very regularly and they come so close to you. Lightning strikes all around, and it only takes one bolt of lightning to hit the boat and you will lose all of your electronics. You may lose the boat itself and very possibly even your life. I'm not a fan.
After the storms passed, we noticed that a pin was coming out of the back of the boom. This pin holds all the trimming blocks in place, so it's quite important.
Well,
To tie it up?
Shouldn't be a big drama, but that's interesting, huh?
You need to get something. We've decided not to push the engines to go all the way to Çanakkale against this wind. Instead, we found a reasonable price marina, so we will put in there for a few days hire a car, and finish our tour of northern Turkey by road.
The place where we have stopped is Alachati near Chesme. This is past where charter boats are allowed, so the costs are not so high. We're going to hit the road and drive firstly to Ephesus. This is one of the most well-preserved Roman cities in the world. Even if you're not a fan of history, this is a place you should aspire to come to. It's so complete, it lets the imagination just go crazy, imagining what this place was like when it was full of Roman people going about doing Roman stuff. I loved it.
Back on the road, we are heading north to the city of the Çanakkale. For the first time in a very long time, we will be sleeping in a hotel instead of on CathayOz.
A short ferry ride across the Dardanelles from Çanakkale is the Gallipoli Peninsula. Here, 108 years ago, two nations experienced a catharsis that would change them forever. Turkey would show that it could militarily push back the might of the British Empire, and in so doing found a hero, Kemal Ataturk, who would go on after the war to create a modern Turkey from the bones of the dying Ottoman Empire. Australia, as one of the attacking national forces, would lose its innocence, and in so doing established an identity increasingly different from the British, who had been idolised and emulated for so long as the epitome of a civilised and progressive culture. Why the series of battles at Gallipoli were fought and what the objectives were is not something that I'm going to try to get into. I've come here because as an Australian, the stories of this place have swirled around my entire life. Our National Remembrance Day is set on the date that Aussie troops stepped ashore here. I've come to see what a battlefield I've been taught so much about looks like in true life. It's shockingly small. The remains of trenches of both sides lie 10 metres from each other in places. In one diversionary attack at a place called the Neck, 600 troops in 4 waves charged at the Turk trenches in an area no bigger than half a football field. They never got close and were mostly wiped out. Imagine 600 soldiers running from your neighbour's house 5 doors down towards your place, along a stretch not much wider than your street, and almost all of them falling to withering machine gun fire. It's the same all over the battlefield. For the troops in the trenches, it must have seemed intensely personal. The enemy wasn't across a quarter mile of no man's land. You didn't see him unless he was attacking, but you could hear him talking, cursing and laughing, and you could smell his food. Both sides were constantly trying to wear down the other, and improvised explosive devices were commonly thrown from one trench to another. It was dirty and nerve-wracking, and there were almost no rules. After 8 months and a combined 500,000 casualties on both sides, the campaign was abandoned and the troops evacuated and sent to new hells in the European theatre. The land itself is slowly going back to its natural state, except for the memorials, statues and cemeteries. I've fulfilled an aspiration and discovered that my emotions in being here are not the stirrings of national pride, but rather the shock of discovering that this is no grand sweeping battlefield, but rather a series of small spaces where the topography allows only occasionally for defensive attacking lines to be formed. I can't imagine lasting a day in such a place without losing my mind.
back on the boat and heading south. We can now take advantage of the strong north lines to get some lovely sailing in.
This won't make a big splash, I think. What's this? Another one behind it. And find a lonely, quiet anchorage to reflect on just how much there is to see in this wonderful world.